Hello, welcome pen friends. Today we're going to look at the first 13 days of the Diamine Inkvent, the 2024. I am running quite behind. I'm in the slow lane, but I think it's okay. I had made the decision to go ahead and go over all of the Colorverse Colorvent in December and to do the Diamine Inkvent in January. So today's is, let's see, what is today? January 25th, Saturday, as I'm filming this, and I am on day 13. So it still remains to be seen whether I'll get them all into my ink journal by the end of the month. It's possible. It just depends on a lot of things. But I wanted to break it up into 2 videos. So the next one will include the final ones all the way through to the end. And we'll look in my ink journal, which is a Goulet 68 GSM Tomoe River paper journal. We'll look in there and we'll look at each tile. And I'm getting kind of a feel for some of these that I really like. In fact, I've already chosen one that's going to go in my February inked pens. So I'll talk about that too. So let's see. We'll pick these up for now because we're going to go into them individually anyway. And now, on my last video, I did talk about the first 3 a little bit. I showed you, but I'm going to make sure I also review those a little bit here too. So we'll just do all of them, all 1 through 13. And I discovered that there are 7 of these have shimmer. That includes Starbright, Shimmer, and Chameleon. In other words, there's particle in 7 out of the 13 of these. So that's interesting so far. And special thank you to pen friend Cathie for sending samples of each and every one of these. It's so special, and I've had such a good time already, and it will continue. So, oh, and the other note before we dive right in is that all of these are now up on the inkswatch.com website, thanks to Matt. I sent them over and he got them all listed. So you can, if you see something here that you like, you can go and find it, and then you can look at similar colored inks. And I think that's really neat. And as he catches reviews of individual ones, he said he would link those. And so it just becomes more and more and more of a resource for us. So don't forget to go over there to inkswatch.com and look into some of these that you like and see if there's anything similar. That kind of helps you place the ink better, or you may be familiar with something that's listed as a similar. And the other little point of housekeeping, I guess, is that this is the pen that I'm using for each and every one, so that they're all, I'm apples to apples as far as the pen. And this is the Serendipity Mini I've got a Knox broad nib in here, and this is working out great. So it's all cleaned out right now because it's ready for today's, the next 1 or 2 that I might do today. So we've got some good variety here. We've got all kinds of colors. I mean, like that green stands right out to me as I'm looking. And I think the best way, though, is to just get right into the ink journal. And then this lemon lime stands out, but keep that in mind because that was a bit of a frustration. Okay, I'm going to get out the ink journal. That's where all the action is. And I do apologize if you've already seen these first 3 because you were watching my progress report or whatever. But I thought better to keep each ink have coverage in one of the 2 videos because that's kind of buried in that other video. So number 1 was Diamine Baltic Breeze. Look at that complexity. And it's very pretty. I noticed that that I forgot to do the mixing, so the shimmer came out only on part of it, of my splat. So that was unfortunate, but I realized my mistake. What you see here is bleed back from the other side, but after the first 3 days, I got a clue and figured out what to do about that. Yeah, and this is real pretty. It's got quite a neat chromatography too. And I'm going to go pretty fast through these because I've already talked about them, but yeah, I thought it was pretty. I also see where all of a sudden you'll see some shimmer It was just in the splat that I'd forgot to mix. Oh dear. Oh, there goes Coco. Okay, I didn't see that coming. He really missiled on through there quite quickly, and he's now in the window. But okay, so ink number 2 was a Diamine Wilted Rose. Let's see. I forgot to actually talk about the first one. So the first one is just a shimmer, and I put copper question mark. Let's see. See if I can show you. Down in the bottom there, you can kind of see, see the shimmer at first. So it looks kind of coppery, I don't know. And then this one is a standard. So it's Wilted Rose, it's a standard. It may have a little sparkle from being on my desk. Oh my goodness. But this is a disaster because we have bleed back through from day 3 too, but that'll be the last time. So I found this a little light for me, but it is very lovely. It's pretty. It's kind of almost like a muted, muted rose color, kind of dusty and pretty. Okay, so then next up was a Star Bright, and I love their Star Brights. Diamine Star Brights are, I don't know, the shimmer particle just seems to make its way through everything that you put it. No, Coco, you got to stay there, honey, because you could break something, including yourself, honey. Oh dear. Poor Coco. Coco's my cat, and he is determined to be right up here, and he's just not a little boy anymore. He's very big, so he can like knock the whole camera down. And we were hanging out together for a long time before this, but that probably just makes it harder on him because he wants to continue. So, and when I get done, I'll have to get right back to him. This is a beautiful green, and it's got that, it's a Star Bright, Noble Fur, and it's got complexity, and yeah, I was really excited about this one. Let's see if we can show the shimmer. Yeah, it's you know, the Star Brights are so shimmery. Just amazing. You know, and I was complaining, and I was actually saying how I liked the Colorverse better because they didn't have as many with particle in it. But some of these are really fun. And so I think I'm kind of an in-between between the two sets. Like maybe not quite so many, but maybe more than what Colorverse did. Because I think next year, if I do either one, it's going to be one or the other. I just think that I just got all excited because I love Colorverse ink, so I said yes, you know, and oh, thank you, and yes, and I ended up with all these samples and too many to do in 1 month for me. Anyway, I figured that I would get kind of nutty if I tried to do both in the same month, but this is gorgeous, and it's got a really pretty chromatography, and I dated the pages because I knew they weren't going to line up exactly, but I wanted to kind of get an idea of what I actually did. So this is the last one where was a bleed back issue because I cut a bunch of paper so that we could look at it, you know, without that disruption. I like it better. Actually, this is very, very, very good paper. This is some sheets of Graphilo that I just love it, and I used the whole Colorverse set was done in here in one of those Graphilo notebooks, and I now have one also lined up for the Tom Studio inks, which is going to come next. So I'm doing the Tom Studio inks in one of these too. I don't think I'm going to be sorry. I just think I'm going to be reordering more of that paper because I love it. But anyway, each ink got the Graphilo on one side, and then the writing sample is on the Tomoe River 68 GSM. Okay, so this is, I can see there's particle everywhere. This is Forest Gateau, let's see, standard. Okay, there's so few standards, I guess I didn't write standard here. I did pretty good at that, though, on my overall calendar. I wanted to make sure I understood what type of a ink it was on each one, and I wrote those out. So let's see, I'm just kind of one disaster away from having everything fall down, I'm afraid. But this is gorgeous. This is kind of a bright maroonish pink, and my goodness, saturated the way I like, and from this, you would almost, from the chromatography, you would almost think it had water resistance, but I don't see any in the tile, and I kind of go by that pretty strongly. But it reacted so beautifully to the water brush, and that's the kind of ink that I just fall for, because I could do so much more in my process journal with any of the inks that are like that, so I love it. Okay, so that's day 4, or number 4. And then we had a big skip here. You could tell that I was really overwhelmed. Well, the skip was between day 3 and 4. I went from January like 4th to January 18th. So I wasn't feeling well, but there was also a lot going on. So we are going to go to Icy Lilac. I need to just quit with the side notes here. And this is a shimmer ink. And it's just a lovely, I thought when I saw the tile that I wouldn't like it in a nib. It has readability though. I have no complaints about that. I can see the ink really well in this one. And then the splatter had some really impressive stuff going on. Let's see. You can see that. It like put your eye out almost. It's gorgeous. So it didn't react to the water brush the way I would like. You can kind of see that it just sort of, it had a little water resistance down here on this bracket around the chromatography, but isn't that pretty? It's almost, it goes from gray to pink to turquoise. So it's lovely. It's very pretty, and it's got a lot going for it. I'm not sure that I could really see the shimmer too well in the writing, but it's all over it now because of, you know, I didn't put a page between each and every one of these, only when they were drying. So that's something for me to consider. You know, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really bother me, but to be able to see for sure whether I'm getting particle in my writing too, I would have to separate it from this kind of thing. So it's okay though. I think for our purposes here, it's good. Very, very beautiful. Okay, so next up is Diamine Cranberry. And this is also oh, this is a standard. Okay, yeah, well, we had the Forest Grateau was a standard too. This has got incredible sheen. It's a sheen monster. I think I wrote that somewhere, but you could see that it almost changes the tile. I'm sure this is a confusing one for the website because well, we've got the color here, and this is more accurate as far as the base color, and then you've got that sheen over the top of it. But it's gorgeous. It's saturated, and it reacts amazingly to the water brush. See the difference there between, like, well, of course, it's a whole different color, but it reacted and spread really nicely. And when it does that, and it did on this one too, but not as much. I do them exactly the same, so that's really, really amazing. Okay, so over here, I like to kind of give you an idea. You see how much the sheen took over on the left here. You can only really see the color peeking out in a couple places. And all the splatters are done with the same technique with a little ball syringe that I have from Radio Shack. Okay, so next up is a rather, this was the only one so far that I just gave up on, like I didn't get very far. This is Diamine Lemon Lime, and it's a chameleon. And I just got real frustrated because like this looked like a mistake, but I was so careful cleaning out my pen. I was extra careful knowing that I had just finished with a highly saturated ink. And I saw that we had, you know, yellow or green lime coming up. So I was super careful. So this business here is part of what happens with this ink, I guess. And that may be why it's named Chameleon. Because even over in the splat, which was with a clean syringe and right out of the little vial, it's just amazing. It leaves such a different varying... yeah, it kind of looks like the inside of a lemon, right? Where it's kind of different colors. But I didn't get very far with this. I didn't like it at all. It just freaked me out because it was too light. And it made me feel like even all those efforts, I didn't get my pen clean, but I did. So that was just me. I feel kind of bad about all this wasted paper. Well, I guess I could come back in and do some splatters or try again, but I don't think so. That's the kind of ink I would find somebody that might like it, because I didn't get along with it too good. Okay, so then ink number 8 was Diamine Marley, which I love the look of this. And, you know, it kind of made me think of, I think it's Robert Oster Muddy Crown purple, and I don't have that right in front of me. I could go down a rabbit hole so deep with each one of these as far as comparing that I would never make it to the next ink. So I purposely didn't do that. But this is gorgeous. In fact, it'd probably be better for me also to log in and look at this in comparison on the website and see what comes up if any of my ideas are confirmed. But it's, you know, it's more beautiful on the tile than it is in writing. To me, it looks gray in writing. You know, and I can look at it real closely under good light, and I still don't see purple until I add water. But I suppose it's definitely a purple, you know, or purple gray or whatever. Let's see. And over here are the splats, which are just, you know, they show a lot of contrast from the lighter part to the darker. But they, of course, don't have any shimmer in them. So, okay. Next up is ink number 9, which is Diamine Wishing Tree. Okay, this is interesting. I don't even know what to call it. And I suppose it's greenish gray, because I can see the hints of green in it, but I just don't know. And this is a chameleon. So I don't know if you can see those sparkles or not. I'm not seeing very well from where I'm sitting. It just strikes me at this very moment as a little dull, but you know, they all have their purposes, all these colors, and different times I'm attracted to different colors. So I was not greatly excited by it. I kept trying to get more ink onto my little, I wrote out Thursday, and then I took the water brush to activate it, which it didn't really activate a lot. And so then I went back in and tried to kind of embellish a little so we could get the shimmers. So that was fun, but I don't know. That wasn't my favorite ink of these, but it's interesting nonetheless. Look at that chromatography. Leaves a little gray, little bit of gray, and then it goes right up into pink and turquoise. And it's got yellow in there too, I think. So, okay, next up is a beauty. Here we go. This is Diamine Chilly Nights. It's another Star Bright. Whoops, we've just disrupted everything. And it's just got so much yummy shimmer in it. You know, and that's when I'm glad I'm working with a pen like this. Because as compared to the Sailor Hokoros are really great. They're these little pens that, you know, the nib retracts and everything. But I don't get as good a mileage with these, with the shimmer inks, as I do with the Serendipity Hybrid. Because it's got that, well, this has a little feed too, but it's different. And so the experience is very different. And I wouldn't go very far with all of these shimmer inks, I think. I really prefer this. And I hope that there'll be a U.S. maker who will, you know, take up this kind of a project, and maybe they already have. I don't stay in tune with all the new things, especially during 2024, because I was on a real restricted, I was going to say diet, but yeah, pen diet. But I love it for this, because I actually think that I enjoy, even for writing letters, you know, I can dip twice maybe and get a nice page for a pen pal letter. So yeah, that's just a little musing about it. But the water brush was super, super reactive with this, and it creates such a nice kind of a complex look to it. So I think artists would really enjoy this one too. Let me show you the splatters, because they are just quite impressive. It's like a silver, and then it's got kind of a indigo sheen on the splatters. It's just fantastic. See, I'm seeing one thing and you're probably seeing another thing, but hopefully we catch it all if I move it enough. Okay, so then next up we get to my favorite of these so far, which is this one. This is surprised me, because from the tile I wouldn't have thought that I would be so excited by it, but the combination of seeing it in the writing and with the water brush, I'm crazy about this Diamine Grateau. It's an extreme sheen is what they call it, and I would call it that too. You can see that here on the tile, how it differs, you know, from the water activated base color part. It's just gorgeous. And I don't know if we can show it here, but I think we can if I can hit it just right. Okay, so over here we've got, this is really hard to show. There we go, the sheen. And over here on the writing, it might be a little harder. I can get it where I can see it, but I'm just not sure. I'll have to, yeah, there we go. Some shine and shimmer. You could see it really, really shines the letter, and yet I can see the nice base color through there. I think it looks really nice in the writing. And I have chosen a pen for February. I'm going to put it in this one because this is an interesting pen. You know, it looks red, but then it also looks pink to me. And it's got all that, the gold in it. So I thought it would be really nice for February. And I have a broad number 5 nib in it. So it's the Benu Scepter 1, I think. Anyway, that's a spoiler alert. That's going to be in my February Chris's ink pens. So I was wild and crazy about this one. Okay, so then next up we have Diamine Snow Globe, and it's another chameleon. It almost looks like Starbright because it's quite sparkly. Let's see, I don't know. Somewhere or another it probably will show up, but it's real pretty, and it's nice and readable too. It did not react much with the water brush, so I think in terms of art, it might not be quite as, unless you're not relying on it as sort of a watercolor. If you're just doing, actually, it reacted with a lot of ink, okay? But with just outlining like this and this, it wasn't so great. But down here, I just did some figure eights and then used the water brush, and I was happy with that. That's pretty. That brings it out almost like it is in the tile with the water activation. So let's look at the shimmer. It's gorgeous. It's got such pretty blue shimmer. Let's see where that one is. Wait, Snow Globe. Why am I having trouble finding it? It's right here. Okay. If we turn it real quick, we could still see that that's kind of a blue shimmer in the bottom. Hope I'm not getting these all mixed up. Probably am. Let's see, that was right before the purple. Oh, I've pulled out inks. I'm going to have to be real careful about refiling. Okay, so there's one more in today's, but did we look at this? That's got quite the rainbow. I don't know if I'm hearing a dog next door, or something is howling in the background. Pink and, yeah, it's the dog. Anytime there's a ambulance or something. Pink all the way up in yellow and green and turquoise. So pretty. Okay, so last but not least is Diamine Lullaby, which we're back to a standard. And when I first started writing with this, I thought, oh, this might be good enough readability for me. But as I got to the bottom, I realized, no, this is way too light. It's lovely. It's a lovely color on the tile, on the splats, and if you can get enough ink down with your nib, it's still readable, but I don't know, it just isn't quite dark enough for me. Let's see, we're going to look at these splats. So there's nothing shiny here, but it does have a lot of contrast from the lightest to the darkest. You see, it all depends on getting enough down, so maybe something like a Pilot Parallel, I don't know. That would be an experiment. But because I do love the color, it's a lovely, almost lavender color. Okay, so let's see. That's pretty much as far as I've gotten, I think, so far. I haven't even like inked that ink up yet, but I'm going to really enjoy Grateau in this one, I think. So we're going to try it anyway. And let's see. I'm going to set up something else. Okay, that was interesting. I had them all out of order, and for some reason I wanted to see them in order. I don't know that that's important, but here they all are. And yeah, so we've got 7 of them that have shimmer particle in them, which makes it very, very interesting. And then we've got that extreme sheen Diamine Grateau, which is my favorite so far, which really surprises me, because if you just handed me the tiles of all of these and asked me, you know, which one's going to be your favorite, I probably would have said cranberry. That's a really beautiful color, stands right out. But in the nib, and they're all being compared in the exact same broad nib, I really like this one. So very interesting. I tend to really love heavy sheeners, and yet I have frustrating problems at times with heavy sheeners because sometimes the little number 5 nibs that I love don't handle them. So we'll see what happens with this one. I have a feeling this one will, because that's got a really good Schmidt feed on it and everything, but we'll see. So, you know, I had like really one dud. The Diamine Lemon Lime is not for me, at least not for writing with in a pen. But it's, again, very, very personal kind of idiosyncrasy, whatever. Personal preference is all that is, I think. And so one thing I like about the Diamine Inkvent inks is that eventually it appears, so far, we get full bottle options on these. That's what they've done, I think, so far. And so it's a long-term kind of thing. They don't do it immediately. And so you can kind of study these. I think that's the fun part about having the little, either samples like what I've got or the little bottles, you know, the little bitty, I just had one. These are the bottle sizes. I've got something else in one of these, the little 12 ml bottles. So a person could really find out and know how they feel about them before they purchased a bottle. So it's a neat little project. Okay, let's go to the library so I can continue just talking. There, okay, so this feels pretty good to have the first half of the set you know, in my ink journal, and I'm looking at finishing, you know, hopefully before the end of the month, but I'm trying not to get too tied up with the actual detail of when. Just, I think I'm almost like being greedy with them. Like, I didn't want to do one Colorverse and one Diamine each day in December because I wanted to spread it out. Because I think right now I have this need to have excuses to be at my pen desk every morning, you know, and it sets my day off right, you know, it really does. So that's what I've been doing. One of the biggest things that I noticed was the difference immediately in the paper. So I have now become quite crazy about this Graphilo paper. It's just amazing stuff. It's hard to go back into Tomoe River 68 GSM after using this. It's, you know, and I was thinking to myself, I thought maybe it's time for me to go back into CVS Caliber for ink journaling. I'm not sure whether it would be totally successful, but I could try it again and see. Sometimes I feel like the paper's too dry for, and I know that's a weird thing to say, but like I don't always feel like it cooperates even with a broad nib, but it depends on the ink. And I'm not really finding myself saying that about, okay, this one throws me off. It's got the red cover because I went crazy decorating it for Christmas, but it's still the Graphilo paper. And I didn't have, just with rare exception, like here's one, the Colorverse Christmas Star. Okay, that was pretty intense, and that did go back just a little bit on top of the page before. But I mean, that was rare. I just am not seeing these, even the saturated ones, they barely, like here's one, another one. This is all from December, so here's this one. This was Giant Sunspot Colorverse, and then back behind where it went, just a little, I have to look at it. I can see with my eye that right there and there was a seep through, sort of an attempt for it to seep through, but this paper is serious paper. I mean, it just, you know, it shows off the inks really well, and it shows off the sheen and everything, so very interesting. Oh, I like that one. That was one of my favorite splats because it looked like kind of these, you know, figures trying to shake hands. I don't know. Oh, boy. So then I hopped, you know, for the Diamine, I hopped from Graphilo booklet form onto the Diamine 68 GSM Tomoe River paper, and I had that little awakening where it was like, oh yeah, that's right. We don't do that. We don't splat on the next page or we're going to see it on our writing and it throws things off. So, I mean, you know, that is not how I journal. I don't journal like that, but I do like to do a lot of the water activations. And those have not been bleeding through this paper. This is great paper. So, you know, let me find a really saturated one to show you. Okay, so here's one. This is really saturated. This is the Forest Grateau. And when you look at where I activated it with a water brush, and then we go on to the next page. Oh, okay. Well, we have to look down here because up here we've covered with a paper. But there's just no problem there. You've got a little ghosting, you know, where I did the water. But so I in general, I don't splat on my notebooks, but I'm telling you honestly, I would if I could. And that's where the CVS Caliber made in Vietnam notebooks and paper comes in, because there's just nothing like that total freedom of being able to do whatever you want in your notebook, whatever you want with outlining and like, or taking like a 3.0 Pilot Parallel with a ink in it and making a big box around something. I guess it's just knowing it's not going to disturb the paper. It's wonderful. So when I go back in and we get into February and we start doing these Tom Studio ones, then we're back in the Graphilo paper and we can go hog wild. And I don't know if you can see, but it shows off the sheen and everything. So it's going to be really, really fun, I think. But I'm having fun with this. As soon as I, you know, fixed my problem of not having it destroy the prior page, I have been enjoying putting, you know, I just take a glue stick and I just glue them in. It's so funny about that lemon lime one. I mean, I don't have any problem with the splat, but I just couldn't even see the writing hardly. And that could just be my eyes, you know, partially. But that's pretty predictable, I guess. So anyway, it's going well. And I hit the desk each morning, and the pen desk, and have kind of a little ritual there. So when, you know, looking ahead more, I still have lots of Birmingham inks. I'll get another one of these, and we will be able to run through those, because it's shameful that I haven't had, I just couldn't keep up with them, and I do intend to. And so there's no doubt about it. It's something that I enjoy, so I'll come back in and show you just for what it's worth, whatever I find out in my ink journal. So. And then for just a little bit of off topic, we got through our Arctic blast. We didn't get snow down here, but we got some sleet, and we got 3 freezing nights. Some of the areas close to us had more than 3 freezing nights, but down here, dripping pipes and all that was just 3 nights. And we had one really extreme wind night where I was like, just on pins and needles about the power, because when you combine sleet with high wind and everything, I know from where I grew up in Vermont that it's not a good combination. But we got lucky, and there were other areas very close, too close, that lost power, and I just feel for those people. We make heavy preparations, and yet I still don't feel completely prepared for long power outage without heat, because we never used to have to deal with that. As long as everything was closed up, you know, not opening doors and all of that, we could keep the house warm. But when it gets that cold and windy, it's like the older mobile homes. If you like my dad used to say, you're just getting through. You got that fire going the same as always, which would be 85 degrees if it wasn't windy. Because it's what he used to tell me, you know, it's nothing wrong with how you've done the fire, or the wood stove, but we're working against the wind. So anyway, we have a butane buddy heater thing as a backup, but it feels to me like a very wimpy kind of a preparation for that. And I just don't know. I mean, you don't put wood stoves in here. You probably couldn't even get insurance if you did that. So there's just all kinds of thoughts going around in my mind now that every year we seem to face more extreme weather, you know, how are we going to go about having those backups? So, because you know, it's one thing for people to shut off the water and take your suitcase with you to a shelter or a relative's home, but it's different to do that with 3 animals. And you can just imagine that that would just be very traumatic and difficult. Much better to try to come up with your own alternatives at home. So anyway, it's not that I am paranoid, it's that I'm seeing that we've got to dial up our preparations and things like that. So anyway, we're just very grateful we got through it. And you know, the icing on the cake was, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that our aloe vera plant, which had really suffered in 2021, it got almost completely dead, and we weren't sure what to do, so we just kept nurturing it and putting a little more soil around it, and we were stunned this year. It finally came back. So we really went to really good efforts to water it lightly, like they say, cover it, we had a plastic layer and then a nice, bedspread over it, and so it survived. So that was really nice. Now, I'm not saying winter's over down here. It can happen again. The last time that we had the worst of it was in February, but often by February, the beginning of February, we are in a trend of warm. It startles me sometimes how quickly we move into and stay into hot weather. So we're much more, much more understanding of what we have to do to live through heat events, I guess. So anyway, and I still have my bomber hat and my scarves and my snowmobiling gloves from Vermont. You know, I've got them. I don't have my snow boots anymore because I wore them out. They're just, gone. But I have lighter boots that still have lining. So believe me, I pull out the ski stuff that I have. We used to call them insulated underwear, but I don't think they call it that anymore. They're the black ones that are lightweight and, like a second skin that warms you up. Well, I've got, tops and bottoms of that and wool socks and everything else, but whew. Oh, that's the other element. See, we have pier and beam foundation and the floors get really cold. So it's sort of and again, that's a lot like living in a trailer or a mobile home. I don't know why I call it trailer, where, even when you cover, it's got to be done awfully well in order to keep all the air out of the underneath of your home. So, okay, that's enough obsessing over weather and cold. I never thought I would ever be the person who was complaining about cold weather, because when I was younger and living here, it was like, there were so few days that I liked, because I just hated the heat, and I couldn't deal with the fact that there was really no winter. And now it feels like every year, the older I get, there's more winter. So anyway, enough of that. So it's ongoing, and I will come back when I have the other, 12, I think. There's 12 left. So I'll come back and recap those 12. And in the meantime, you can look up any of them over at inkswatch.com and compare them with other inks and have fun with it, So thank you for watching. And I came to do this because I have a lot of people that have mentioned, I can't wait to hear what you think about these inks, and they wanted to see. And so it's Saturday, and it's a great day to kind of divide it in half. And now I'll go and start on the last 12. So I'll see you on the next video. I am already pulling out inks and pens for February. February is my favorite letter writing month. And maybe it comes from doing IncoWrimo in the past, International Correspondence Writing Month. And even though I don't seek more pen pals now because I have a lot, and I sometimes feel like I'm not keeping up. That goes up and down. It's very natural that it will go up and down depending on how many, that you have to reply to all at once. But February is like my favorite month because, I feel like it's a good excuse to get the pinks, magentas, purples, all those bright, happy colors out, and I do that every year. So I'll see you back here for that, if not before. Bye for now.